Is that it?
So welcome to Jewish Mysticism Lessons in Tanya, chapter 50. The title of today's lesson is Love from the Left Side.
Uh-oh.
This is not a political lesson, I promise. They say that the great rabbis in the Talmud, it says at the end of Pesach, it's on page, in the Practical Tanya by Rabbi Chaim Miller, it's on page 641. And in the handout, you should have the handout for chapter 50, Love from the Left Side. I had started saying that in the Talmud, at the end of Tractate Pesachim, it's brought down that when the rabbis would teach, they would start off with like a joke. It doesn't say a joke. It says with a milsa de b'dichasa, something that would make them laugh, something something light, and it would cause everybody to laugh. Ubad chiraban, and then the rabbis would laugh, and then after that, they would move on to study Torah, and it would be like as if they were receiving it from Sinai. It would be like this intense study, very intense. And it seems like contradictory, like first so lighthearted and then so intense. But in Tanya it explains that the reason for that, not here, but earlier on in Tanya, we've done this already. It explains that the reason for that is because when a person laughs, it eases him up, it eases the tension, and it makes him available and open to accept something. And then, anyways, so
breaks down the inhibitions.
Right. I guess that's one way to phrase it. 100%. So the conversation up until today, so today is also, by the way, the last lesson of Reverence and Love. This will complete our course, Reverence and Love, where we've been talking about these two emotions and how to develop them for Hashem, Ahava and Yira. And by the end of this lesson, we'll have completed that one, and then afterwards we'll do a break for 1 week where we'll have the Holocaust survivor, Mr. Leon Malmud, will come and present for us.
It will be Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, yeah. Then will be Shavuot over the weekend, and then the following Wednesday we'll pick up with the last and final course, which is called the Shechina, which will be 3 weeks, 3 lessons, where we'll finally wrap up the entire Tanya, the Alter Rebbe will wrap up for us the entire Tanya as to what it was all about. But for today, we want to wrap up the conversation about the emotions. Mm-hmm. So, as you all know, for the past 9 weeks, we haven't just been discussing emotions, because to discuss emotions for God is almost pointless. Right? I mean, how can we have an emotion for something that we can't see, we can't hear, whatever? Right? So, to discuss emotion without meditation it doesn't get you anywhere. So we discussed that one of the major things we can do if we want to have an emotion for God is we can have a meditation, and then we introduced, a little bit on a lower level, there's a reflection, but you definitely have to work on that emotion. That emotion is not just going to come, you fall in love with someone, you'll fall in love with God. It doesn't really work that way. You don't fall in love with God. It has to be something you work on. You have to think about it. You have to meditate on it. You have to actually have fuel for that fire. Constantly, yes, but also, yeah.
Contemplate, I said.
Oh, contemplate, yes. Yeah, but it is constant as well, but it's cumulative. It builds on itself. So, up until today, we've been discussing many different types of meditation, different types of reflections, from various different angles. Hashem's love for us, which should be reflected with a love back, right? Things that we can reflect on Hashem that will cause us to love Him, all sorts of things. We also discussed that love has to always be preceded by reverence. That was all the way at the beginning, in Perek Mem Aleph, in chapter 41. But in today's chapter, the Alter Rebbe actually introduces us to something we had never heard of before, which is that all of these loves have actually been loves from the right side. What does love from the right side mean? So, Kabbalistically speaking, anytime the Kabbalists talk about the right side and the left side, they're talking about, I see Pam's already drawing the drawing. What? Well, not just that Chesed and Gvura. They split the Sefirot up, right? Is that what you were about to draw? Right? Everybody's seen the Kabbalistic drawing? So, you have, right, Chesed and Gvura are on the top. Netzach Hod, Yesod, Tiferet, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach Hod, and then Yesod, and then Malchut and Levit. And then above it, by the way, and this is almost never drawn, it depends. Yeah, go ahead.
It's not for it, but when we take the Torah out of the Aron, we say, Lecha Agvura v'Tiferet.
Lecha Shem HaGedula v'Agvura
Why do we
v'Tiferet.
say Gvura instead of Chesed?
We don't. We say Gedula instead of Chesed.
Yeah.
That's a great question. It's beyond the scope of today's lesson.
No, but it always bothers when I
So
always think it.
Gedula is synonymous with Chesed. Okay, the greatness of Hashem is synonymous with Chesed. I'm not going to answer the question, but I will reference somewhere else where you see it.
Okay.
In Vayevarech David, let me get a set of you. I'll share with you in a second. We actually do the same thing. I don't know if you ever noticed that. right after Hallelujah, so we praise Hashem, and then we say how David praised Hashem. And it says, Lecha Hashem ha-gedula v'ha-gevura v'ha-tiferet v'ha-nitzah v'ha-hod.
Yeah.
Ki chol b'shamayim v'ba'aretz.
Yeah.
Also, gedula is replacing chesed.
Yeah.
Correct. But it's referring to chesed. Why it's called gedula is a conversation for a different time.
Okay.
Okay? I've studied, I remember studying about this in yeshiva, in a Maimon on Chassidus. Okay.
I think like they make mistake. Why they
No,
say-
no, it's not a
Okay,
mistake.
okay.
It's not a
I
mistake.
know there's no mistake.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
But back to the topic at hand. So we're saying that all that is a love from the right side, right? What does the right side mean? So we said the right side has chesed gevura, and then we spoke on netzach and hod, but also netzach and yisod, and then also above that, which we speak about more rarely, you have chachma, bina, and dat, which also form that segol or that triangle. So on the right side, you have chesed, and most of the loves that we've been discussing fall under that category, right? If I had to ask you between love and fear, or love and reverence, that we've been discussing all the time, obviously love is more of a chesed-driven emotion. Most of the time, and I know that this is slightly more nuanced, right? Because somebody who actually is a little bit more mature can sometimes learn to love somebody for their gevura, right? Is everybody with me?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? It means that I don't know, let's give it on a very basic level. Let's give an example. Somebody can learn to recognize that the person loves them, and that's why they're being mean to someone else. That's why they're not being mean is the right word, but that's why they're maybe because here's a good example. If your mother doesn't give you a knife to play with when you're a child, right? That's the classic example. Or if your spouse doesn't allow you to have carbs because he knows that you're trying to lose weight, right? Again, obviously depends how it's done, etc. Right? I'm not here to give a marriage class, but gevura can sometimes be a catalyst for love, right? But on a general level, the loves that we've been discussing here are more associated with chesed. Can you
Got
One's
grasp
more
how this-
tender, and the other one's a little more
strong?
Harsh.
Harsh, yeah. Harsh is a good word.
It's like telling the kid, put your hand in the fire.
Correct. But for the most part, love is associated with the right side, reverence is associated with the left. And that's why actually all of the loves that we've been discussing, if you go back and you analyze them, you can think about them, they've all been more in this right side, this chesed kind of love, this kind of love. We love Hashem because He did the tzimtzum for us. We love Hashem because He gave us this, because He gave us that, because He gives us life, because He is our sustenance, because etc., etc. This is also associated, by the way, with the love of the Kohen as opposed to the love of the Levi. It's also associated with the love of silver as opposed to the love of gold. The love of silver, by the way, meaning I feel like I just said a lot of things. Let me just explain a little bit of them. So silver, it's referred to as the love of silver because there's a pasuk where it says. Kesef Kedoshim. The Zohar calls them Kesef Kedoshim, which is a quote from Melachim. It's these holy gifts of silver. And why the word Kesef? Kesef, which means silver, also in Hebrew can mean Nichsof, Nichsafti, right? In Yedid Nefesh we sing Nichsof, Nichsafti, right? What does it mean? Nichsof, Nichsafti means to yearn, to long for something, right? Love often causes that emotion that I yearn to be with someone. I yearn to be close to someone. Right? That is essentially a description or a breakdown of what love is. That's why it's called kesef. Why it's called why it comes from the Kohen? Because the Kohen is known to be an ish hachesed. As a matter of fact, when it comes to the this is just one symptom of this is when it comes to the mitzorah, to the leper. And this is a couple parshas ago, maybe 10 parshas ago. And we talk about how the leper has to come to the Kohen and he has to show it to him, and the Kohen will look at it and he'll decide whether he's a Metzora or not, right? Whether he is a leper or not. If you study the verses there, you'll notice that whenever the Kohen is deciding, he actually never decides alone. He always decides with what the Torah calls a chacham, essentially an expert in Sarat, as you would actually probably more naturally think. Who is more likely to determine what is Sarat or not? Give the symptoms to a doctor. Doctors are familiar with examining symptoms and figuring out what type you have. No, this is a pimple. No, this is Sarat. Right? So there always was a medical professional, a chacham, an expert, a Sarat expert that was there alongside the Kohen. And then he would tell the Kohen his expert opinion, and then the Kohen would pronounce him Tamei or Tahor. Now, just for context, the result of this, whether the Kohen would say Tamei or Tahor, would mean whether the man has to excommunicate himself not just from his wife, not just from his children, from his family, not just from his tribe, but from the entire Jewish people, and go outside the camp for 7 days. One of the most harsh punishments you could do to someone, even in prison, when someone's acting up in the prison system, they put them in solitary confinement, right? So it's certainly one of the highest levels of torture you can do to a human being. And I don't know if torture, but one of the highest levels of punishment. Now, why it was done there? Let's not get too carried away. But interestingly enough, one of the explanations given for why the Kohen had to be there, right? What's the point? I don't get it. The expert is saying anyways what he thinks. He's basically deciding why does the Kohen need to be the one to do it. And the reason given for that is because Kohanim have, by the way, today they actually have placed with DNA that there's a particular gene that Kohanim have. What's it called?
It's on the Y chromosome.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the details of it.
Yeah.
You know what it's called, the gene?
I don't know.
Whatever, but that's found particularly in Kohanim, so this actually backs up a little bit genetically. But the Torah tells us that Kohanim are genetically hardwired. They have this streak of chesed to them, this streak of kindness to them. So that's why these loves are called the loves that are likened to the Kohen. As per the Kohen, they're the silver love, and they're the right side, the chesed love.
So they yearn more for God?
These particular loves, or the Kohen?
The Kohen.
I don't know that this means that the Kohen necessarily has more of that love. It means that in terms of the loves, these loves are called the Kohen loves. I mean, this is like a spiritual side. They're obviously connected in some way. Anyways, what is the purpose of this whole introduction? The Alter Rebbe gives us this whole introduction because he wants to introduce us to the second type of love. He says there's one other type of, well, not the second, it's more like the fifth. But the fifth type of direction and meditation to get to love, says the Alter Rebbe, is actually from the left side. And it comes not from Gevura, but it comes rather from Bina.
Bina?
Yeah, which is, Bina is higher than Gevura, right? We said immediately above it on the left side.
7 or 8.
What?
Bina is 7 or 8 Sphira.
If you count from Malchut as number 1, correct. Yeah. If you count from Chachma as number 1, then it'll be number 1. It's number 8 or 9, depending on how.
8.
It's number 9,
Oh.
technically, because it's Chachma, Bina, Dat. But the question would be where you put Bina. Bina moves around a little bit.
Okay.
I'm telling you this. I wouldn't mention this in class just to confuse people, but I think you're referencing it. So we'll okay. This meditation, this love, is much, much higher than a chesed love. And it finds its source in Bina, in meditation. And meditation on what? Meditation on the greatness of God, the greatness of Hashem. But here, all of a sudden, there's a different discussion. You see, till now, it's been God created, for instance, let's take the latest one we did, right? God created the Tzimtzum. This was one meditation we did. God created the Tzimtzum. It was the greatest gift that He can give me, to give me existence, right? And therefore, it's only right that I should reflect the love back to Him. Let me fan that spark into a flame. Let me have a love back to Hashem. But essentially, it's all built around my own existence. In other words, not to say that we're not climbing out of our own existence. Always, when it comes to loving someone, we're always to a certain degree climbing out of our own existence. Certainly when we're loving Hashem, we're moving beyond ourselves, out of a dualistic model world, into the non-dual world, into where we are Hashem and we want to just become one with Hashem, etc. But it's born sometimes of a reflection on God that's within us, what we have. The love that comes from the left side is what we call, what the Alter Rebbe calls a fiery love, kirish pe'esh, like a flickering fire, like a flaming fire, and it is associated with gevura in the fact that this love initiates detachment, it initiates suppression of self, and eventually, properly exerted, this love leads to klot hanefesh. Klot hanefesh means end of self. The soul actually leaves the body. So another reason why this love in particular is compared to a flaming fire, right? Because as the famous analogy goes, just as a flame on its wick is constantly striving to go upwards, to connect to the source of all fire, but it shouldn't ever be successful in detaching itself. The flame would cease to exist. Similarly, with regard to this love has no grounding. That's a good example, right? Like when you plug a three-pronged plug into the outlet, and two of them are for energy. I don't know exactly how they work. Positive, negative. I don't know exactly how it works. And the third one is to ground it. Don't get too carried away. Right? Don't blow up. Similarly, all the other meditations, loves that we have built-in sort of safeties that you shouldn't leave this existence. This love that comes from the left side, this love, kirish pe'esh, which is like a flaming fire, right? This love, which is called the Levi love, by the way, right? Connected to the Levite. What was the Levite's job in the Beit HaMikdash? To sing, much more spiritual, right? This love actually brings a person possibly to disconnect from themselves and that their soul should leave this body.
I like it.
You like it, and it's a slippery slope, or the opposite, right? It moves upward very quickly. It starts with step 1 of fiery love. Step 2, that fiery love leads to a powerful thirst for God. I want God. Step 3 is an obsession. It leads to a love sickness. The Alter Rebbe calls it to be love sick for God, and eventually to detachment, to completely separating yourself from your body, and then the Shema becoming one with Hashem.
So this is what Aaron's two sons
Correct.
were driven by.
Correct, by such a love. Yes, absolutely. And this service, the Zohar ends off, as they're introducing this other type of love that the Alter Rebbe is explaining to us now. This method of serving Hashem, in order to properly utilize it, you have to use a method which the Zohar calls Ratzui Vashuv. Anybody ever hear these words before? Ratzui and Shuv. If you ever get tested on your Hasidic trivia, these are two words you'll find all across Hasidus over and over again. Ratzui means to run. Shuv means to return. And what they refer to, Ratzui refers to, if somebody's so thirsty and they're so lovesick for this thing, they're running after it. They're willing to get out of themselves. They're just moving forward, trying to get out of themselves, right? Like the flame that's trying to detach. Shuv is the reactionary. That's a word, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think usually it's used in a derogatory sense politically. But Shuv is the reactionary emotion, which is when we realize, no, we got to stay down here. And the reason I introduced these 2 points, or the Alter Rebbe introduced these points, is because it's key to understanding why on earth we would ever strive for such a love. To me, I know Irit said immediately that she likes this, sounds good, but it's essentially very dangerous.
Yeah.
We are well aware, because we've learned 49 chapters of Tanya already. She's a risky kind of woman, we are very well aware, because we've learned already 49 chapters of Tanya, that the purpose of this world, the purpose of the creation of this world is, what did we say two weeks ago? To eat a cookie, make a blessing. I think Lou was eating a cookie, so I picked on him at that moment. To eat a cookie, and to utilize the physical world to uplift it for Hashem, to create a home for Hashem down here. Yeah, a mitzvah. In other words, to do whatever, to use physical leather and turn it into tefillin, to take physical wax and a wick and light Shabbos comes through that bring holiness into the world, right? Drink wine, but no, it's 4 cups for the Seder, etc., etc. The problem is, with such a love, it would seem that it's almost counterintuitive. What is the purpose of trying to develop a love? Right? First of all, I'm going to work so hard to develop this love because it's counter my existence. I need to leave my own existence, bittul. I need to figure out a way to completely nullify myself and surpass my own existence. Finally, I do it, right? And then let's say I actually finally achieve the purpose. So now I'm dead. Now my soul leaves my body. You're one with God, but now I can't do a mitzvah.
Okay.
You say, so what? But Hashem says He wants a mitzvah. So we have a disagreement. Have it out with Hashem.
I'm not sure what He wants. He wants while we're here to do it. But once we are already back with Him...
Oh, okay. So does He want us while we're here to think that we shouldn't be here and we should be one with Him? He wants us to do that? This is an interesting paradox. Right? It's not easy.
I think that's the
1 second. I finished attacking you, now I'll attack you. 1 second. You say, You say, no. He doesn't want you to get involved with this love at all. Don't even try to love me in a way that's going to detach from the body.
Yeah. We're supposed to balance this struggle.
Okay, so that's where we're getting. That's where the point of Ratzoy and Shuv comes in.
Everything is a struggle.
So, but pause for a second. I want to take a moment to connect this actually to where we stand now in the year, right? In a week and a half, it's going to be Shavuot, right? We're going to celebrate the giving of the Torah. And I hope you'll all join us for the all-night learning. We're going to have the Yid talks. We're going to have the different classes. I'm giving a class on giving thanks. And Rabbi Anoka is going to have a class, and my principal will have. And then we'll have that, if you can stay till 3:15 a.m., then you can ask your questions. stump the rabbi.
From 1 to 3?
No, from 3:15 until 4:15. The last hour.
No, but when it starts, the whole thing?
At 11.
11.
And the Yid talks are at 12. Anyways, so what are we doing? Why are we staying up all night? Anybody?
So we don't die. We get 1 year promise that we don't
You're
die.
trying to connect it to this.
No?
So what do you mean? That we don't die?
That to say, when we stay Shavuot all night, Kabbalah promises that we don't die. 1 year.
Oh, okay. I never heard about this. But the
Amen.
origin of it is Pam agrees to living another year.
Yeah,
To another year.
yeah, that's the promise.
But traditionally, the reason that's given is because the Jewish people, the night before they received the Torah, they went to sleep, right? And their problem was that they should have been preparing and expectantly waiting, etc. Right? And interestingly enough, the Rebbe was always out to make Jews look better than they are. Because the tradition is that we're making up for it. Till today, right? Talk about Jewish guilt. Till today, we have to make up for the
So
Jews
we are
at Sinai.
paying for those
We're paying
Jews.
for those Jews who didn't prepare properly given the Torah, so we have to prepare every year.
But we get 1
So the
year.
Rebbe says,
life.
the Rebbe asks a very
From
interesting question. The Rebbe says, I don't understand. To me, I think the Jews were doing an amazing thing. What happens when a Jew goes to sleep? Where does
Your
the
soul
Neshama go?
goes Part of
Eurita's
this.
going to love this. Your soul goes to become one with Hashem, to re-energize, to right, the part of you, not all of it, but a lot of self-love. So they were like, gosh darn it, we're about to receive the Torah from God Himself. There's only a limited amount that we could do down here. Let the souls go up. Let the souls go, right? Let my people go. Let them go up there. Let them study Torah up there. They'll come down. We'll be perfectly ready for the giving of the Torah. And we'll be well rested. Right?
Okay. Logical.
Rebbe explains that the mistake with it, why we do still have to make up for it, is because that was not the purpose of creation of this world. For us to learn Torah up there, God never had to send us down here. We could have stayed up there. So what is it that's demanded of us? Right? On the other hand, on the topic of Shavuot, what are we told? How were the Ten Commandments told to us? The first two, Mipiyah Gvura Shamayim, and we heard them from God Himself. But what happened? Each time the Jewish people expired, their souls left their body out of great, close enough, literally out of a great burning desire to connect with Hashem, because they heard and saw and experienced and felt, and I don't know what words to use because I don't remember it, of godliness at Mount Sinai, and their souls just, boom, they went to connect to Hashem. And then Hashem had to bring down this special dew that He's going to bring back when Mashiach comes to bring back the dead. And He brought the Jewish people back to life. And then went commandment number 2 of the 10 Commandments. Right? And then it happened again. And finally they said, Moses, we can't handle this. Moshe Rabbeinu, you go and listen to Hashem as you always have and as you have experience with. And you tell us what Hashem says for the other 8. And that's how we heard the other 8. Again, we see this juxtaposition. So what is requested of us? But back to the topic at hand. What?
Do they know they died?
Good question. You'd have to ask them. Well, we were there. But we were there as souls. So I don't know. I don't know the answer. But back to the question here at hand. So why would we spend and exert so much energy for a love that's going to defeat the purpose of the creation of this world? So the answer, as Pam said, is that's not the purpose. We have to find the balance. And that's where the Ratzoy and the Shuv comes in. What is the source of this concept of Ratzoy and Shuv? It comes from Sefer Yetzirah. I think almost everybody here was by the presentation by Joe Tepperman when he spoke about the Golem and artificial intelligence. So he quoted from Sefer Yetzirah, right? From Sefer Yetzirah. Sefer Yetzirah is a mystical book, a very mystical book. According to some traditions, it was actually given to Adam HaRishon, to Adam himself. God gave it to him. It was passed down from then. Others say that it came about later. Either way, definitely a very Kabbalistic spiritual book. And in it mentions im tarutz. I think are the words. I'm trying to find the exact words. Im ratz libcha. If your heart begins to run, as we would say in English, if your heart starts to race, shoiv le'echad. Return to one. What does this mean? What does this mean? In the Zohar, and it's actually something that is part of the Chabad Siddur we say on Friday night. We have this very cryptic passage. Anybody ever notice it? It's part of the Friday night prayers. You're here sometimes Friday night, right? We say Raza de Shabbat. You know what I'm talking about? Right after the Chadodi. No, sorry, not right after the Chadodi. Right before Baruch Hu. We say, just as they, the six Sephirot, divine attributes, united above it to oneness, so she, Malchut, kingship, unites below into the mystery of oneness. It's this whole paragraph about the mystery of oneness. And as part of it, at one point we say, the Mehave Echad Be'echad. That the purpose is to make one, that there be one in the one. What's going on over here? Sefer Yetzirah tells us, Im tarutz libcha, if ratz libcha, if your heart begins to race, if your heart begins to become so passionately involved with God that your soul wishes to depart its body, which is depart your body, shayv lecha, go back to one. Remember the one. You see, because God in His oneness, right, created only one world. And the purpose of our creation is la meheve echad be'echad, here's the line. The author says, Pirush, the meaning of this is, the explanation of this is, Shahayichud hanelam yiya b'bchinat alma dizgalya. We're on page 647. That God's hidden oneness should be apparent as oneness in the manifest world, through Torah activity down here in this world.
That's deep.
The oneness of Hashem, which surpasses the world, should be expressed in the one world as oneness. Meaning when it comes down here, it shouldn't be broken up into some other
that we
form.
will feel this oneness that exists anyway,
here in this world.
But we
exactly. That we will make it be felt in the one world which He created, which is the material world.
which is not material, but we think it's material.
Yes. And interestingly enough, the Alter Rebbe connects it, which I never noticed this before. I mean, I've learned this chapter before, but I guess I never noticed it. The Alter Rebbe connects it to Lecha Dodi. He says, what do we do? Immediately preceding this, he says, we sing Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, right? Come, my beloved, to greet the queen, right? To greet the bride, we call it, right? Kala is the bride. But you know what else Kala means? What else does Kala mean? Israeli, my local Israeli.
It's lichlot,
to finish, to expire. In other words, what we say is Lecha Dodi Likrat, right? Come, my beloved, let us go towards, not to the Kala, not to the bride, but to the Kala, to this love that destroys us, that finishes us, that we go. That's what it's called, Klot HaNefesh. When the soul leaves the body because it's attempting to cling to Hashem, it expires.
Yeah.
So essentially, on Friday night, properly experienced, when we sing Lecha Dodi, we have this experience of Imratz Libcha, as the Sefer Yetzirah says. If your heart starts to race, if your heart starts to run, and then immediately what do? Raza de Shabbat, Raza de Echad, we talk about the mystery of the oneness, that we have to bring this oneness down here. We remind ourselves, as part of that experience, the purpose is down here. Don't make the mistake that Nadav and Avihu made. Don't make the mistake that the Jewish people made the night before the giving of the Torah. It's all down here. The Mishnah in Avot tells us, again, a cryptic saying. It's not going to seem so cryptic because we're in this explanation here. But the Mishnah in Avot tells us, Al karcha chatachai, in Ethics of Our Fathers, right, in Pirkei Avot, it says, Al karcha chatachai, forced or against your will, you are alive. Al karcha chatamet, and against your will, you will die. So Hashem is constantly forcing life into us. In other words, we wouldn't naturally be alive. Hashem forces our soul to come into our body, to be in our body. And yet then when the soul leaves the body, it's also forced to leave the body. So should our soul be in our body or should it not be in our body? What's the point? What's the purpose? And so the answer is, as Pam had mentioned earlier, both.
Even with
we have to find
alive. the death is also illusion.
Okay. The balance that we're looking for is ratzui v'shuv, the running and the returning.
I like this chapter the most.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Let me just wrap it up and then we'll talk about it. The ratzui and the shuv, we have to figure out how to yes, naturally all of us sitting right here, we're not running for God. Our hearts are not racing for God. We have no problem that we now need to get. That we remember they say about the Alter Rebbe, right, the author of the Tanya, that when he would daven, right, he would need to hold a bagel with butter in order to keep him down here, because otherwise his soul would expire, right?
But I think his problem was he didn't want to leave the people. It's not that he didn't want to be with God, but he had a purpose.
According to the way he's explaining it to us, he's saying that even we, who I don't take care of the people, I mean I'm a rabbi, but still, I don't have the same purpose in the world as much as the Alter Rebbe. I also need to hold the bagel with butter, and you also need to. Why? Because at the same time, we need to find this balance of the ratzui of, yes, even though we don't naturally have a davening that would make our soul expire, we have to strive towards a davening that would make our soul expire. We have to strive to have a love for God in whatever way it is for you, that yes, it would, if taken all the way, lead to your soul leaving its body in order to connect to Hashem. And then we have to have the shuv. The reality, the realization is the better word that I was looking for, the realization that it's all about down here. And then you take that fiery love and you channel it into a mitzvah. You channel it to help another Jew, to loan somebody money, to whatever it is, to give tzedakah. And this, my friends, is the great value and why we strive to have the love from the left side. With this we conclude chapter 50. Wow, crazy to say 50. Of Jewish Mysticism, Lessons in Tanya. Chapter 50, Love from the Left Side. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.